The hardest betrayals don't always come from the people who lie. Sometimes they come from the ones who smile at you while holding the lie in place. I'd spent 4 years earning their approval. Sunday dinners. Family birthdays. Helping her dad install a new fence when the old one blew over in a storm. Her mom sent me Christmas cards signed with hearts. Her brother invited me to his fantasy football league, even though I barely knew what a tight end did. When we got engaged, they cried. Toasted. Welcomed me like I was one of their own. And I believed them. God help me, I believed them. Her name was Laura. We met at a conference in Denver, both working in different branches of healthcare. She was smart, grounded, the kind of person who made other people feel steadier just by standing next to them. She made me better. Or so I thought. We moved in together a year after we started dating. She got along with my family. I got along with hers. Her dad and I would watch games, drink beer on the back porch. Her mom used to call me her bonus son. I'd never felt so folded into someone else's world. But I learned something the hard way. Not all smiles are honest. Some just wait. It started small. Subtle. Laura started working later than usual. She said her department was swamped, that she was covering for someone who'd quit unexpectedly. She started locking her phone. She'd never done that before. She said it was about patient privacy. Made sense, I guess. But her laughter changed. That's what I noticed first. She started laughing at things she wouldn't explain. Like someone had told her a joke and she was replaying it in her head, alone. At dinner. While I was talking. She started checking out emotionally. Her texts got shorter. Her "I love you"s got slower. There were nights when she'd come home and act like she was somewhere else entirely. I asked her about it once. She said I was being paranoid. That I didn't trust her. That work was just stressful and I needed to back off. So I did. I backed off. I trusted. That was my mistake. One Saturday, we had dinner at her parents' house. Her dad grilled steaks. Her mom made that lemon pie Laura loved so much. It felt like nothing had changed. Like the last month of strange silences and distance was just a rough patch we were riding out together. Halfway through dessert, Laura got a phone call. She stepped outside to take it. Her mom followed a few minutes later, carrying a glass of wine. I didn't think anything of it. Until I went to grab a sweater from my car and passed the open window by the side yard. I heard her mother's voice first. "You've got to be more careful, Laura." That call almost came through at dinner. "He's not dumb. He'll catch on." Then Laura's voice, lower, frustrated. "I'm trying. But I can't keep doing this. I thought this would be over by now." Then the line that shattered everything. "You said we'd tell him after the holidays." Her mother, I said we'd consider it. "But until then, he can't know. He loves you. He's stable. You're lucky he hasn't figured it out already." I froze. There was no shock. No movie scene denial. Just a sudden, deep quiet in my chest, like something inside me already knew and was waiting for the rest of me to catch up. I didn't go inside. I walked around to the front of the house, got in my car, and drove. No confrontation. No shouting. Not yet. Because I wanted to see it. With my own eyes. I needed the truth to look me in the face. So the next day, I started looking for it. And what I found tore the smile right off every Sunday dinner I ever shared with that family. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of fresh coffee and the sound of Laura humming in the kitchen. She was making pancakes, like it was just another Sunday. Like she hadn't spent the night before talking with her mother about how to keep me in the dark. She slid a plate in front of me, kissed my cheek, and asked if I wanted syrup. That's when I realized how deep the performance ran. It wasn't just lies. It was choreography. I told her I was heading to the hardware store after breakfast, needed a part for the leaky faucet in the guest bathroom. She smiled, told me to grab extra light bulbs. Instead, I drove to her office. Parked across the street. Sat in my truck. Watched. It was nothing special. Just a low-rise building with mirrored windows and an HR sign out front. I waited until just after lunch, when she usually took her break. And right on schedule, she stepped out. She wasn't alone. A man followed, mid-30s, sharp haircut, tailored jacket, phone in one hand, iced coffee in the other. She smiled at him. Not a professional smile. Not a polite smile. A knowing smile. And he touched the small of her back like he'd done it 100 times. I didn't move. Didn't take a photo. Didn't roll down the window. Just watched. They walked 2 blocks together, talking. Close. Comfortable. Then they stopped outside a cafe. He leaned in, kissed her cheek. She laughed and pulled him closer. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't innocent. It was them. A whole other them I had no idea existed. She walked back to her building alone, phone to her ear. He stayed behind. I followed him. His name was Evan, apparently. I got it from the receptionist at his firm after pretending I was a client looking for a project manager. Friendly guy, good reputation. Married, based on the ring I spotted on his left hand. So she wasn't just hiding something from me. She was part of a bigger lie. And suddenly, all the little things started clicking into place. The night she came home with flowers she said were from a coworker who got promoted. The time she went off-grid during a girls' weekend in Santa Fe. The necklace I'd found in her gym bag that I'd never seen her wear, one she claimed she'd had for years. All of it. I drove home numb. She was already there when I walked in, on the couch watching some reality dating show. She paused it and smiled. How was the hardware store? I said it was crowded. That I forgot the bulbs. She shrugged. We'll grab them next weekend. That word. We. She was still saying we. Still stringing the lie along like it was fine thread and not fire waiting to catch. I sat down beside her, pretending nothing had changed. But everything had. That night, she fell asleep next to me like she always did. One leg draped over mine. Her breathing steady. Safe. I stared at the ceiling, wide awake. Because now I wasn't just betrayed by the woman I loved. I was surrounded by people who knew. And the worst part? They welcomed me into it. Pretended they wanted me there. Pretended I was family. But all they really wanted, was my silence. It's one thing to be betrayed by your partner. It's another to realize you were the only one who didn't know. After that day, the cafe, the touch, the laugh, I started looking at every conversation, every smile, every Sunday dinner with new eyes. And the view was a whole lot uglier once you tilted your head just right. 2 days later, I stopped by Laura's parents' house. I told them I was in the neighborhood. Her mom greeted me like nothing had changed. Even offered me pie. That's what got me. The pie. She smiled, handed me a plate, and asked if we'd picked a date for the engagement photos yet. And I sat there, fork in hand, wondering how someone could offer you dessert while hiding the fact that their daughter was kissing another man behind your back. Laura's dad joined us in the kitchen. I watched him closely, watched how he nodded, how he glanced at his wife when I mentioned Laura was working late again. That look. It said more than any sentence ever could. I decided to test the waters. Have you guys met anyone from her work? I asked, keeping my tone light. Her dad shook his head. Not really. Just a few folks in passing. Her mom sipped her tea. She mentioned someone named Evan, I added, casually, like I was piecing together names for a party invite. The reaction was instant. Her mom's grip tightened on the mug. Her dad blinked, just once, too slow. Then she said, "Oh, right. Evan. He's one of her senior colleagues, I think." And that was the nail in the coffin. Because Laura never told me his name. I never mentioned where I saw them. I just dropped it out of the blue. And they already knew who he was. I finished my pie. Thanked them. Left before the rage could crawl up my throat and make a scene I couldn't walk back from. That night, I called her brother. Jake and I had played basketball together on the weekends. Gone to concerts. Shared beers on the back porch while he joked about finally having a brother he could stand to be around. He answered on the second ring. "Hey man," he said. "What's up?" I skipped the pleasantries. "Jake, I'm just going to ask you straight. Do you know who Evan is?" Silence. Not a pause. Not a breath. Silence. I heard him sigh. "Look, man, this isn't something I wanted to be in the middle of." That was it. I didn't need more. "You knew," I said. "You all knew." "Not everything," he said quickly. "Just enough to know it wasn't good. Mom told Laura she needed to clean it up before it got out of hand. I figured it had ended." "Did she even plan on telling me?" He was quiet again. "Then, I don't think so." I hung up. Sat in the dark living room for an hour without moving. It's hard to describe that kind of betrayal. It's not sharp. It doesn't feel like a stab. It's dull. Heavy. Like someone placed a stone on your chest and walked away. And everyone you thought was lifting you up. They were helping hold it down. The next day, I took a drive. Out of town. Past the hills, past the highway turnoff we used to take for weekend trips. I needed air that didn't smell like deception. I needed a view that didn't remind me of her. And I needed to decide what came next. Because this wasn't just about a cheating fiancé anymore. It was about a family who let me invest years of my life in a lie they helped build. They didn't just hide the affair. They protected it. I'd spent weeks letting them lie to my face. Letting them feed me pie and empty smiles, ask about wedding colors, joke about grandkids someday, all while knowing the truth. Every last one of them. But silence wears out eventually. And mine was cracking. I waited until Laura got home from work that Friday. She came in humming, tossed her bag on the counter, kissed my cheek, asked what I wanted for dinner. It was routine. Ordinary. Comfortable. And that made it worse. Because there she was, this woman I once trusted with everything, moving through our life like she hadn't detonated it behind my back. I let her talk. Let her change into sweats. Let her pour a glass of wine and settle on the couch with a blanket. Then I sat across from her, elbows on my knees. "I saw you," I said quietly. She looked up. "What?" "I saw you. With Evan. At the cafe." Her mouth opened, just a fraction. No words came. "I watched him touch you," I continued. "Watched you laugh like he was yours. And I sat there realizing I didn't know who you were anymore." She didn't deny it. Didn't gasp or cry or try to spin it. She just stared. Finally, she whispered, "How long have you known?" "Long enough," I said. "Long enough to know it wasn't a one-time thing. Long enough to know your entire family knew." And said nothing. That broke her. She started to shake, tears threatening, voice cracking. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said. "I didn't plan it." "But you continued it," I snapped. "You lied. Every day. And worse, you let me sit at your family's table while they helped you cover it up. They didn't want me to lose you. That line. It hit like a slap. They didn't want you to lose me. So they let me live in a lie. She nodded, barely. They thought I'd end it. That it would pass. That I just needed time to figure it out. I stood up. Paced. Ran a hand through my hair, trying to steady the fire in my chest. I needed time too, Laura. Time to build a future with you. Time to invest in us. And you let me pour it all into something you knew was broken. She begged then. Softly. Not on her knees, not dramatically, but from that place people go when they know it's already too late. I was scared, she said. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. And I messed it up. I know that. But I still love you. No, I said. You don't get to say that. You don't love me. You love what I gave you. The safety. The steadiness. The illusion. But you don't lie to someone you love for months. You don't let your mother whisper cover stories while you put on a white dress and talk about flower arrangements. She was crying now. And maybe part of me should have felt something for her in that moment. But I didn't. Because I'd cried already. Quietly. Alone. In the dark corners of a relationship I thought was real. I walked to the bedroom, opened the closet, and pulled down the bag I'd packed 2 nights ago. She followed me. Please don't go. I have to. Can we talk later? There's nothing left to talk about. I paused at the door. Turned to her one last time. You didn't just cheat on me, Laura. You let your whole world help you hide it. You built a wall around the truth and called it love. And then I walked out. Not because I was strong. But because I'd finally stopped lying to myself. You'd think leaving would feel like a scene in a movie, triumphant, angry, free. It didn't. It just felt quiet. Not peaceful. Not yet. Just, quiet. Like standing in a house after everyone's gone home and the music's been turned off. You hear the hum of things you didn't notice before. The refrigerator. The pipes. Your own thoughts. I drove to a motel an hour away. The kind with buzzed neon signs and paper-thin walls. I sat on the edge of the bed with a bag of clothes, my phone face down, and the hotel TV playing some crime show on mute. That's how it started. Day 1 of whatever this was. Not a breakup. Not exactly. More like an escape. I didn't talk to anyone for a couple of days. Ignored calls. Let texts pile up. Even Derek, the one guy who probably wouldn't have said, "I told you so," stayed quiet after the 3rd unanswered message. Then, on the 3rd morning, the calls stopped. That's when the ache crept in. Not for her. Not for the relationship. But for the life I thought I was living. You don't just lose a partner in something like this. You lose context. You lose the version of yourself that fit into the story. And when the story's fake, you have to rebuild the character from scratch. Eventually, I answered one text. It was from Jake, her brother. I just want to say I'm sorry. I didn't know how to handle it. That made me more furious than anything else. Because he did know. He chose not to. And that's when I realized, it wasn't cowardice. It was comfort. Everyone around her wanted to keep the peace more than they wanted to protect the truth. The following week, I stopped by the apartment while she was at work. I had a key. Still technically shared the lease. I packed up my remaining things in silence, books, a few shirts, the cast iron pen I brought into the relationship. The only thing she tried to keep was the espresso machine. I let her have it. Felt too heavy anyway. There was a note waiting on the kitchen counter. Not a letter. Just a few lines. I'm sorry for everything. You didn't deserve this. I hope someday you remember more good than bad. Laura. I stared at it for a while. Then folded it and put it in the trash. Not because I hated her, but because I wasn't keeping relics from a museum I never wanted to visit again. Later that night, I finally met up with Derek. We sat at a bar, ordered wings, drank more than we probably should have. He didn't ask questions. Didn't push. Just nodded at the right times and told me one thing I didn't realize I needed to hear. You didn't fail. You got played. And you walked before you let it define you. That's not weakness, man. That's strength. I didn't cry. But my shoulders dropped a little. Like I was finally setting something down. And I knew then, this wasn't the end of something beautiful. It was the start of something honest. Because the truth? I'd rather be alone with a clear heart than celebrated by people who only smiled when the lie was intact. There's a moment that hits you after it all falls apart, after the betrayal, the silence, the packing, the night spent wondering if you missed the signs or just ignored them. It's not anger. Not grief. It's something simpler. You stop waiting for an apology that'll never come. And when that happens, life doesn't suddenly get easier. But it gets clearer. I moved into a new place a month later. Small place, nothing special, hardwood floors, tiny balcony, a view of a parking lot I started to appreciate for its unremarkable consistency. That was what I needed most. Consistency. No secrets. No staged family dinners. No handshakes from people who already knew I'd been replaced. I didn't tell many people what happened. Not in full. It wasn't about shame, it was about ownership. I didn't owe the world a breakup story. I owed myself the quiet space to rebuild. Laura never reached out again. Not after the note. Not after I changed my number. She didn't try to explain or ask for another chance. And in a way, I was grateful for that. Because some people don't need a door left open. Some people need a wall, a lock, and the kind of distance that teaches you where your boundaries should have been in the first place. Her family tried, though. A few emails. One from her mom, shockingly bold. You were good for her. Stable. She lost something real. I just hope someday you'll understand. I didn't reply. Because here's the truth her mother never understood. If you help someone lie, you're not protecting them. You're just giving them permission to be a coward. And I was done making peace with cowards. Instead, I started investing in people who didn't wear masks. People who didn't need coaching from the sidelines on how to love me. I went to therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand why I let myself believe the smile on Laura's face was more honest than the feeling in my gut. I took trips. Small ones. Places I'd always said I'd go, once we had time. I read more. Cooked more. Talked less, but listened better. And eventually, I met someone. No grand gestures. No fireworks. Just a conversation that started over mutual frustration with a broken coffee shop Wi-Fi connection. She asked what I did. I told her. She asked about my last relationship. I didn't flinch. I told her the truth. And she didn't look away. That's when I knew I was ready, not just for love, but for truthful love. The kind where people don't smile while hiding daggers behind their backs. The kind where no one has to choose between comfort and honesty. Now I'm not the guy who almost married a woman who cheated. I'm the guy who chose himself before it was too late. And if her family still talks about me, if they sit around that same old dinner table and wonder how I could just walk away from such a good thing, well, let them wonder. Because the man they knew, the one who smiled back at their lies, who toasted to a future built on fiction, he's gone. And in his place is someone they never got the chance to pretend into anything else.